Hey there everyone, this is Samuel Johnson and welcome back to the Lyoko Retrospectives. And today we're going to be discussing episode 82 of Code Lyoko, Distant Memory, and oh boy, this was a hard one today. And I don't mean that in the sense that it was bad, oh god no. I meant that it was a hard one because it hurt. It hurt my heart. This episode actually hurt my heart to watch, but before we get into that, let's get to the summary. It's holiday time again, and just like in season one, the individual members of the Lyoko group are going to be going off to visit their families. Jeremy's going to be going home with his parents. Yumi's going to be spending the holiday with her family, though she doesn't live that far from campus, so that's not that far. Odd's going to be taking a plane to go see his family, and Oric will be spending the holidays with his overbearing dad and his mom. The only one who doesn't have anywhere to go is Eileeda because her family is kind of MIA at the moment, and as we learn this episode, apparently remember back in season 2 when Eileeda revealed that she was having nightmares. Well, apparently the nightmares didn't stop, and as we see in the beginning of this episode, they are having an emotional toll on Eileeda, as every day when she wakes up, she's in tears. It's actually kind of heart-wrenching, especially since the dream that we see is of her with her mom and her dad just having the time of her life at their cabin at their winter cabin or something, and then things just evolve as her mother disappears gets pulled over by the agents or gets taken by the agents, and Eileeda is being chased by wolves. It's kind of hard to watch. However, Eileeda is clearly trying to make the best of it, despite how much an emotional toll it should be. So she wishes the group best of luck and just kind of waits the holidays out in her dorm. However, as she's just kind of lounging there and reading a book, her computer starts to come to life, and when she goes to check and see what it is, it turns out there's a message on there. And it's from France Hopper, pretty much he's telling her that they don't have a lot of time, and that he wants to see her on Lyoko. Eileeda tries to get more out of him, but her computer freezes before she can get more information, and so she decides to go to Lyoko and check it out. I'm willing to forgive this moment of character stupidity because this is emotional, and considering that she's been unsure about where her dad is for the last 2 seasons. Yeah, this is probably she probably wouldn't be thinking straight either. As such, she goes to the lab and manages to reconnect with Franz Hopper, who tells her to meet in the ice sector. As such, Eileeda sets up a time virtualization and goes to the Lyoko, and when she's there, she finds a simulation bubble. Like, remember back in season 1 with the Ghost Channel episode? It's like that, but on a smaller scale, as once Eileeda goes into it, instead of ending up in like an exact replica of Caddick, she finds herself in an exact replica of her childhood home. Like the snow on the ground, the house is there, and when she goes inside, she finds her dad playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on the piano. And I admit, it's actually a heart-wrenching moment, because when she sees him, all she does is just run up to him and give him a hug, and she just starts crying. And even he says, I have some important stuff I need to tell you, but I wanted to see you. It hurt. Like, that just hurt so bad. But it's also really sweet too. In the meantime, in the real world, the groups, every one of the Lyoko warriors is still heading off to their holidays, and we get little snippets of them and their families. Oric's dad is still a Type A overbearing D-bag who little by little I just really want to punch in the nose. Jeremy's father is like super supportive and understanding, and while he probably isn't on the same level as his son, he's clearly trying to understand him and relate to him, and it's actually kind of nice because he's not trying to force anything, he's just letting it all go. We see Yumi interacting with her parents, which is nothing new, but it is kind of cute, especially when Yumi's trying to call Eileeda, but her mom keeps pulling her away to do chores, and her mom even gives a quick dig to her dad. It's actually kind of funny. And as for Odd, he's at the airport like last time, and like last time, he doesn't get to make his flight. As Yumi does try and call Eileeda, but no matter how many times she tries calling, she can't connect. As such, she thinks it's something that she's a little worried, and she calls Jeremy, who advises her that maybe she should go check on her. And likewise, when Jeremy tells his dad that he forgot his laptop, his dad just like makes an immediate U-turn. It's like, I'm gonna make a wild guess and say that your laptop has pink hair. I love that. I just really love that. And as for Ulrich, he just like he doesn't even give an excuse. Okay, he does give an excuse, but before he even gives it, when he realizes he's got to go, he just like walks out of it. He just gets out of his parents' car because they're in gridlock. So it's like, I'll just leave. I'll probably get there faster by walking anyway. It's actually kind of nice. He clearly does not care right now, and I love that. And as such, he just misses. Like I said, he misses his flight. As such, the group gets to Caddick, and Yumi got there first because she was closest. But when she goes there, she finds the message from Franz Hopper still frozen on Eileeda's screen. So she realizes she's on Lyoko. Jeremy's the second one to get there, and so Yumi tells him what's going on. And so they go to the factory and discover the simulation bubble. And Jeremy is not very trusting of this, considering that, well, the last time they encountered a simulation bubble, it was a trap by Xana. And likewise, Xana has tried to lure Eileeda to Lyoko before, and as we've seen this season, he clearly wants her or something, so even Jeremy deduces that Franz Hopper wouldn't try this method to see Eileeda, because he knows it would put his daughter in danger. And, yeah, it turns out it's a trap. And what I kind of like, though, is how Eileeda finds out. Like, we see her just kind of sitting in the simulation of their house, just talking with her dad, so to speak, and they just kind of are exchanging notes, talking, and like just kind of getting each other up to date on what's going on. He says he can send Jeremy a program that could free William. It's all nice stuff. It's all well and good, but how Eileeda catches them is that she says that they've been traveling along the network to take care of Xana using their digital ship, the Skidbladnir. Which when Franz Hopper hears that, he's like, the Skidbladnir? What an unusual name. It's like, how would you not know it? It was the name of the Viking ship from that book you read to me when I was a kid. It's like, oh, of course. And how could I forget? And immediately Eileeda realizes that something's off right there. And from that one little thread, she actually manages to unweave the whole thing. As she says, you got this place down to the smallest detail, and except for one little thing. Where's Mom? And while Franz Hopper says, well, you saw her, she was taken away, she was taken away, Eileeda says, but you're a perfectionist. You would have included her in this. Which means you're not my dad. It's, in a way, it's kind of a little heart-wrenching, but the instant she accuses the Franz Hopper in the simulation of being a fake, even saying stay away from me, Xana, it does phase out, and with that confirmation, Eileeda does try to run away, but it turns out William is waiting right outside the door. They try to pretty much they try to keep her trapped inside, but Eileeda manages to squirm her way out of William's grasp, and manages to try and leave the house, though William sends the Franz Hopper double after them, which it turns out can shapeshift, as when it chases after Eileeda, it turns into a wolf. In the meantime, the rest of the group does get to Lyoko, and Xana did have to take precautions when they got there, as he has two tarantulas out there blasting at the group to keep them from interfering with his plan. And in the meantime, in the simulation, Eileeda does run far enough away, and unfortunately, though, the simulation does have a limit, as she reaches the edge, and it's clear that Xana made it so that that there was only one way in, no way out. So she's kind of stuck here. As such, William just is gloating like this place is going to be your prison, you're trapped here forever. But while Eileeda may not have her physical abilities, they still kind of forget that Eileeda does have one power that no matter what Xana can do, he can't take away from her. At least I think. It just seems to be an inherent ability she has on Lyoko, rather than trying to run away, she actually touches this, which I think makes sense, actually, because I think she did this to destroy the Ghost Channel in Season 1. She puts her hands on the edge of the simulation, and does that, like, that high-pitched, does that, like, that, like the chorus, and she actually manages to disrupt it, except this time from the inside rather than the out, and sure enough, doing this does cause the whole simulation to fall apart and freeing her. And what makes it, and once it disappears, we see William is standing right behind her, and it turns out the shapeshifter that Xana had sent in there, it was a block. Which I thought it was, I don't know, I think that's kind of stupid, but at the same time kind of funny. Like, this thing that was putting on impressive show, save for like missing that one little detail, was actually a block. I think that's hilarious. But bottom line, William is still out for blood, so he and the block chase after Eileeda, and while the rest of the group tries to give Eileeda backup, the Xana sends in more monsters to try and take care of them. So with William sending in a Manta, bringing in a couple more blocks to try and get them back up. The Tarantulas are still around. So one by one, the group starts getting picked off, with Yumi going first, when just leaving Ulrich and Odd. They manage to take care of they manage to take care of most of the monsters, but unfortunately, they're not able to help Eileeda, as William manages to back her to the edge of the I want to say the sector, but of the landmass they're on, and yeah, he manages to push her directly into the digital sea. Now the group considers this a major loss, because falling into the digital sea means permanent virtualization. Though I can make the argument that they still have Code Earth, and as we saw in Season 1... Hold on a second. Sorry about that, my phone somehow came on. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that. Anyway, as I was saying, as we saw in Season 1, Code Earth can bring someone back from permanent virtualization. I'm just assuming it never worked on William, because he's being influenced by Xana. However, when Ulrich and Odd try to go in for the kill and take care of William, he actually starts ignoring them, as he has his eyes glued to the digital sea. At first, the group is confused, but then Jeremy thinks that he's figured out what it is that William was after, and sure enough, from the digital sea arises a white orb, just kind of floating in the sky, and the instant William sees it, he just yells out, "Victory!" and orders the two blocks by his side to just start opening fire on the thing. This orb does end up floating away to another landmass in the ice sector, and it turns out this thing saved Eileeda. And so the group is wondering, well, what is it? What is that thing? And it turns out that thing is Franz Hopper. And yeah, as we eventually learn this later in the episode, but it turns out that this was why William was trying to throw Eileeda in Digital Sea. After Lyoko was destroyed at the end of Season 3, Franz Hopper didn't get dispersed on the network. He went into hiding. That's why the group hasn't been able to find him. He's not trying to be found. Because as long as Franz Hopper exists, he is going to be a threat to Xana, since he's the creator of Lyoko and Xana. As such, the reason William kept trying to throw Eileeda into the Digital Sea is because she was his weak point. If Eileeda was in danger, Franz Hopper would jump right out of hiding and go and save her. And so Xana knew that if Eileeda was hurt, so that's why they kept trying to throw her in the Digital Sea, as Franz Hopper would immediately come right to her rescue and, of course, just leave himself open, because as we see here, as an orb, he has less fighting prowess than Eileeda herself. As such, while Eileeda is safe, Franz Hopper is taking a lot of damage, as he's continuously being shot at by lasers from Xana's monsters. And while the group does manage to take out a majority of them, they do still miss one block, and ultimately William is able to devirtualize Ulrich and Odd before they can destroy the monsters. However, they do manage to hold them off just long enough for Franz Hopper to dip back into the Digital Sea, still alive and well. And this actually pisses William off so much that, just as in the final screw you, he devirtualizes Eileeda, who a block had earlier frozen her leg in place, so she was helpless, which I kind of like. So, yeah, the episode ends with the group meeting up in Jeremy's room, and he does explain the whole situation, and Eileeda is just glad that her father is alive, and that was confirmation of it. And so the groups are all and so Odd hands out gifts to each of them as they're all getting ready to get back to their vacations. But Jeremy this time admits that he wants to bring Eileeda with him. First, Eileeda says, "No, I don't want to." impose, and Jeremy's like, no, my parents are fine with it. In fact, they insisted, you can have my room and I'll just sleep on the couch. It's actually really sweet, and it's not like seeing that more, but I think what really was heart-wrenching was the final line in the episode, and I'm probably not going to quote it verbatim, but Eileeda said that even when Franz Hopper came to her in that orb state, it still felt like he was with her, holding her in his arms. And that's when the credits roll, and that like a stab right in the heart right there. That one, that hurt. Like, oh my god, that hurt. And that's, I think, the best part of this episode. Like, at first I didn't know if it was going to be a plot-important episode, but even if it wasn't, this was just heart-wrenching to watch. Like, from the very first scene, you kind of see Eileeda's mindset going into the episode, where she has a memory of her happy and healthy and just having a great time with her mother and father. We see the memory of her getting Mr. Puck again, and then, of course, seeing everything just going wrong as the government gets involved and goes after her family. It's just like really hurtful, especially when you see Eileeda waking up in tears. It's like, ugh. And while she does act calm and nice, when you see her talking with the group and each discuss their family plans, it feels like just another knife in her heart. And while she is trying her best to keep up a strong composure, I think that there are still little cracks that show that those memories and those emotions and those feelings are still leaving an impact on her. Like I said, when she goes back to her dorm room and she's just kind of sitting there by herself with Kiwi, because Odd entrusted Kiwi to Eileeda this time instead of having just bring him along. You see her picking up her Mr. Puck doll and then remembering how she got it, and just seeing those happy memories and her reaction and her forlorn reaction. It hurts. Like, it legitimately hurts. And I think that's what makes Xana's plan so diabolical, because it's him taking advantage, because, as usual, it's him taking advantage of a perfect situation. He lures Eileeda to Lyoko not by creating a crisis that needs to be solved, but by luring her in under the guise of her father, which I think is a brilliant tactic emotion-wise. She knows, like, Xana, of course, knows that the group is most likely looking for Franz Hopper. And then combine that with holiday times, of course, all Xana had to do was just find the right moment to reach her, and that was it. All he had to do was impersonate her dad and create that familiar environment, and she was putty in his hands. The only reason it fell apart, and the only reason that Eileeda didn't fully buy it, was because the Franz Hopper copy slipped up on this one minor detail, and from there, Eileeda was able to unravel it further by noticing something else that was not right. Like, it is just brilliant the way it goes. Like, it's just brilliant planning on that regard. And like I said, Eileeda jumping into Lyoko, even though it kind of looks like it's an obvious trap, I'm willing to forgive, because, again, it's emotional manipulation, which I think is a perfect form of, like, bad guy manipulation. It's a great way of getting through to your enemy. Even if they're more skilled than you, more powerful than you, if you can hit them right here, where it hurts, then they will fall apart. Does not matter what they can do, how much better they are at it than you, or how much skill they have compared to you. If you can make them falter, they will fall. And I think that was perfect. And there are still plenty of moments throughout the episode, besides what I mentioned, that really do hit you in the feels, especially when you do finally meet Franz Hopper. After Eileeda spent all this time with a fake, once she does meet the real thing, it's like, oh my god, it hits harder, because not only is this a good emotional moment, but it's a strong story development, because it finally gives an explanation for why Xana wanted to keep throwing Eileeda into Digital Sea. It's not just emotional manipulation on her part, it's emotional manipulation for Franz Hopper. Again, he knows that Franz Hopper knows that Xana's after him, so the most logical tactic would be to just hide. But if his daughter's in danger, he'll come running. It's perfect. It makes sense. And seeing Franz Hopper come out and just seeing him this little by little get weakened, but still trying to protect Eileeda, it's actually really sweet. And what I liked too is that he didn't actually run away until Eileeda told him, "Get out of here." Which I like. It's like he's trying to protect her daughter, and it's all exemplified by that last line. that even though she's not with her dad, she knows he's still out there and is watching out for her. And that's just, that hurt. Like, that hurt something fierce. And I think that's what makes the episode work. I still love that we got more plot development for what was going on with the Xana front and how it connected with Eileeda, but at the same time, how they did it was perfect. I loved seeing that. I loved seeing Eileeda's journey, how it came to be, how she dealt with things, how she was dealing with not seeing her family, how she reacted when she saw her father again, which, even though that was fake, it still tugged at the heartstrings. When she was eventually reunited with her father, it was just all so sweet, and it's just adorable. Just gosh darn adorable, and it pulls at your heartstrings something fierce. If I have to list any problems, I suppose maybe the stuff with the group felt just... It was just a sidetrack, like with back in season 1 with when they weren't going on holiday. It was just there, didn't really do anything. I'll give credit, though. One of the things that I like about the episode is that we're seeing more of the parents and getting more of their personalities. Because, like going back, using Auric's dad. Sorry, I keep getting Auric and Odd's names mixed up. Using Auric's dad as a basis, like when he was first introduced, he suffered from informed attributes. But since his last appearance and this appearance, we can definitely see just how much of a Type A anal personality he has, because he's still grilling Auric about his failing grades, unexcused absences, and even when Auric leaves his friends, he's like, I see you're still hanging with those good-for-nothings. Like, oh, dude, just screw you. Like, they're his friends. Even if, like, I know grades are important to you, but shouldn't having friends be shouldn't that be important too? And admittedly, I could understand him getting upset at Auric for failing grades, but again, he is such a Type A personality that you kind of don't want to give that to him. Because, like, just, dude, maybe you could lean back, or maybe offer to help or something, or maybe get a tutor. Actually say, hey, if you're struggling in this, how can I help? Or maybe we should get someone for you. Or if Auric is doing it on purpose to be a jerk, maybe you could limit something. Just don't be this kind of dick. Just don't be a dick. Just, jeez. And again, I think what I kind of find amusing, though, is that they intentionally juxtapose Auric's dad with Jeremy's dad, who is like the exact opposite. He's super friendly, laid back, is doing his best to relate to his son and get to his understanding, and just kind of understand him. And what I love is that when Jeremy's dad comes to pick him up and they drive away, he's like, "So is that the Eileeda girl you were telling us about?" It's like, I see that it's obvious she really likes you. She looks pretty. And, like, you can see Jeremy blush. And then again, once Jeremy says, hey, I need to go back for something, his dad doesn't even ask any questions. At the next stoplight, he just makes a U-turn and says, yep, you forgot something. I get it. I know, I was in love once too, you know. It's just, I like seeing that. I like seeing more of their parents too. I just really like seeing more of them and their families and how they interact. It helps more showcase just helps showcase more of their day-to-day lives, even if their parents aren't really part of their day-to-day lives, so to speak. So I like that. I wish we could see more of them, but otherwise, yeah. And again, while I did like seeing how Eileeda unraveled the thread, maybe it would have been better if there had been more emotion to it. Like, even if Eileeda knew that this was all fake, maybe going into slight denial, like, even she realized something was wrong, but there'd be, like, a part of her that wants to just accept this and believe that this is her dad, even though her higher brain is telling her this is all fake. I think that would have been nice. I think we could have had more of that. I feel like that, yeah, I'll give that. While there is some nice emotional moments when she arrives in the simulation, we don't really get a lot of them after. So, I don't know. I feel like those are a couple problems here and there, but overall, they're minor at best, and the rest of the episode, I think, more than makes up for them. It does well in revealing more plot details. It does well emotionally. I think the pacing is nice. I love just seeing, and the final line just hits you right in the feelings. It's well done. It's great. Overall, a really good episode, and I'm glad I watched it. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and for the next episode of Lyoko Retrospectives, we're gonna actually be delaying it a week. So as such, we're gonna be looking at like episode 83 on the 30th, I think, because I think that's a Friday. I think that's a Friday. Because next week I'm going to be going back to a previous vlog and a previous series that I've looked at. What is it? Well, come back next week, ladies and gentlemen, as we once more venture back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and finally take a look at a solo film that has been in the making for several years, at least. So, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, next time we meet, we're going to be taking a look at Black Widow.